Shalom and welcome. This week's Torah portion is Vayigash. It's the next to the last portion in the book of Genesis. And the brothers are again before Joseph, still not knowing who he is. And Judah is addressing Joseph on the subject of the brothers and their father and Jacob's youngest son Benjamin, in perhaps what is the longest speech in the book of Genesis. And as part of this speech, Judah points out that Jacob and Benjamin are intertwined with each other, that the one depends on the other, that Jacob is so intertwined with Benjamin that should the brothers bring Benjamin down to Egypt the way that they've been instructed, that their father would certainly die. There are people that are intertwined with our lives that are that way. And we can be intertwined with the life of another person, sometimes without even knowing it. This is what happened at one time to the Baal Shem Tov. Now, the Baal Shem Tov was known to be unusually observant of all of the mitzvot, especially the ones having to do with the Sabbath. And one day he asked his heavenly teacher and prophet, Achia Hashaloni, to be shown the place in Gan Eden, in the Garden of Eden, where those who observe the Sabbath with particular devotion are taken to live out their lives after they die. Achia Hashaloni agreed, and they ascended to a heavenly chamber that was so holy that not even the angels could go in. And the Baal Shem Tov found himself in this ethereal garden, an exquisite garden. And in the middle of this garden were two thrones, golden thrones. And he said to his teacher, Rebbe, what are these two thrones for? Who are they for? They are for you and for your spiritual partner. But Rebbe, who is my spiritual partner? That is for you to find out. He said with a kind of a wink in his eye. As they were descending back to this world, the Baal Shem Tov decided that he would go at once, as soon as he could, to discover who his spiritual partner really was. And sure enough, the following Saturday, after the Havdalah service, he packed for the journey to find his spiritual partner. He called on Alexei, his driver, to prepare the wagon, and they left on their journey. When they got to the outskirts of Metzbuz, the Baal Shem Tov told Alexei to drop the reins of the horse and let the horse go where it would. Now, Alexei knew his master. He'd been with him for a long time, and he knew that strange and miraculous things happened in his presence. Also, this was not the first time that Alexei had been told to let the horse wander wherever it would. So he let go of the reins, took a drink from his ever-present bottle of whiskey, and went to sleep. And so they traveled for a number of days, until finally they came to a large German city where no Jews lived at all. the horse stopped outside a small nondescript house on the outskirts of the city. And a German man came out to greet the Baal Shem Tov. Baal Shem Tov asked him, "Do you have a room for me to stay with you for a few days?" "Why not?" And the man showed the Baal Shem Tov to a spare guest room. Well, it soon became evident to the Baal Shem Tov that this German man didn't appear to be a Jew. He didn't act like a Jew. He didn't pray 3 times a day, nor did he eat kosher food. But the Baal Shem Tov thought to himself, my horse stopped in front of this house. That must mean that there's something special about this man. So he decided to stay a little longer and observe and see if he could determine what was so special about this German man. He even decided that he would stay through the next Shabbos. Well, Shabbos came, and his German host did nothing to observe the holy day. The Baal Shem Tov missed his normal Shabbos dinner of fish and chicken soup with matzah balls. He had to make do with some dried bread that he packed for the journey. But the next day in the afternoon, the German man produced a huge feast and invited all his neighbors to come and rejoice and celebrate with him. And it was such a celebration. They ate and they sang and they talked of Torah and they danced and smoked. And they really rejoiced. They were really getting into the party. The Baal Shem Tov still could not understand what was so special about this man. How could this man be his spiritual partner? Well, after Shabbos was over and the Baal Shem Tov was preparing to leave, he couldn't resist. He had to ask his host about this celebration, this feast that was given in the afternoon the previous day. When I was a young man, he said, I lived with my parents in a small village, inhabited mostly by Jews. One day, a troop of soldiers came and massacred everyone in the village, and I was left for dead. I wandered from place to place and ended up here. I don't know anything about Judaism, but I do remember that my father told me that we must celebrate on Saturday afternoon the Jewish Sabbath. And so to keep the tradition of my family, on Saturday afternoons, I provide a huge feast, and I invite all my neighbors to come and help me celebrate. Well, the Baal Shem Tov understood this man is blameless. It's like he was captured as a child and raised by non-Jews. So that was the reason he didn't observe the commandments. He's blameless in this matter. But look at how he still celebrates the Shabbos with this feast. What a soul he is. Now the Baal Shem Tov wanted to bring this soul back into Judaism and teach him how to celebrate, how Jews celebrated the Shabbos. But he couldn't. He couldn't speak. He couldn't articulate anything. It was as if heaven had prevented his speech. And then he realized that God appreciated the way this simple man celebrated Shabbos even better than if he would have been observing all of the commandments, because he celebrated the Sabbath with joy and with happiness. And we're taught in the Psalms that we should approach God with joy. And so it was with his German host, who was truly a joyous soul. Shalom.